Aloha everyone, this is Philip with an evening update. I got some geology to talk about. The USGS has released a couple of new maps and some new pictures that we're going to catch up on. Give you guys a second to join in here. So, alright, I'll start off by showing the new map that USGS has put out. Alright, so here's a newest map from the USGS, July 6th at noon. Hi guys. Thanks for watching, guys. So, welcome. This is Philip. I'm going to do a little evening update here. Well, hopefully my connection is good from my home location, so we'll see how that goes. Looks like so far so good. Alright, first I was going to start off by talking about the new maps. The USGS has just released. So here's the newest map, was released at noon yesterday, and it doesn't really show much change anywhere along the fissure system. 8 is still active, obviously. 22 is still spattering weekly, and the main change in their map is you see a little bit of, let's see, got a pointer today. You see a little bit of red right there, and a little bit up here, a lot in this area, and then more along the actual ocean entry. So a lot of us still go in the ocean along a pretty broad front, but kind of weakly all through here. There's one kind of bigger spot right in here, but it seems to be maybe a little cooler than before. We'll check out the thermal map here shortly, but just for now you can kind of see this is the area of the main activity as of the time that this map was drawn at noon yesterday. So we'll see if there's actually been a big change in the channel. In fact, let me go to the new thermal map that was just released yesterday. And let's start back at the top. Alright, so there's fissure 8. I don't really see any change anywhere through here. We'll study this a little bit more in the next coming days, but for now, we actually following down, we see the lava is fairly well constrained within its channel walls. In a lot of places, these things are getting really straightened out. You don't see as much stuff jutting out. Most of those little edges have been broken off and pushed down the river. So you don't see very many overflows anywhere. It looks very, very stable all through there until right in here. Here we start seeing some overflows. Right, so that's the area where it's starting to become unstable, is right through here. You can kind of see a wider zone of hot flows that goes out all the way to the edge there and there, all the way through here. And then here at the corner is where we had a big change, right? We actually had the old channel was going across this way right through there. And according to USGS reports, I was looking back through the reports, we had an apartment-sized block actually block the river somewhere in here, and I speculate that it probably got wedged somewhere in the zone right in here that forced this channel to go up and around this spot right here. The lava maybe is still leaking around that block, so here, let me zoom in a little bit. So it's still leaking around that block, so there's still a path kind of around through it, and it pops out like right through here. It's kind of maybe that's the original channel right there. So, and then this big block, apartment-sized block, was reported on July 3rd. Actually jumped the river out to the side and pushed it out in this direction, and it interrupted the flow downstream long enough that it actually kind of drained out and then started crusting over, and then since then it has reoccupied the old channel, moving all the way into here. But once it gets about here, it doesn't seem to really connect going further, not very easily anyways. There might be something happening there, because if we look to the east, all the way to here, I'm going to zoom back out, I guess, there's some connection with lava flow, maybe through the middle, that pops out this main ocean entry spot, which is the one that's been persistent for a while. But the big news, of course, is that there's been a big seep that's come out. You know, this lava is kind of feeding through underneath the crust here and popping out mostly over here. And it's established a pretty big channel now that's gone this direction. So that's why there's so much new flow, especially right through here, right? It's actually been covering new ground and moving the main ocean entry, which is right here. Essentially, it's been moving to the north, right? So it used to be down here, and it's been moving up and up and up, and now it's at the northern tip, covering new ground, right? So I'm not sure. I haven't heard the reports from the air from the boat tonight, whether there's any homes still left in this area. But this is all hot material, and it should be it wouldn't be a big surprise if it starts advancing and takes the rest of what's left over there, because there's so much activity on this northern edge right here. You see it's popping out from like 5 different spots right underneath this crust. So it's kind of feeding under and through right there. Yeah, so the other area, which is kind of new, sorry for that glare, it's better right there, is that there is some seepage going underneath here as well, and it's popping out on the south side, right? Here is Kapoho Crater, Kapoho Cone, Green Mountain, what used to be Green Lake inside. So it's kind of just by the mouth of that, and it's flowing mostly to the south. And it's kind of going fairly, feeding a fairly robust flow down here. That's actually a good amount of lava as well. Not as much as this other branch to the north, but still enough that, it's a cause for an extra careful eye to keep an eye on that thing to make sure it's not going to establish a branch that comes down towards the south and starts covering new ground. Right through here, it's actually, you can see this is the old 1955 flow. Just to remind you guys, the black is where they scanned and it wasn't hot. It doesn't mean there's actually lava flow there. So it's covering the main, what's actually still around. This 55 flow goes all the way to here, and it's kind of the boundary of this thing right here. Right in here is an area that John pointed out a few days ago. There's actually the road that goes across that flow. So that's another possible danger there, is it could actually start using that road if there's enough lava to push it in that direction, and that could make it get across and, eventually down in that direction it gets to the warm ponds. It would be a while from that still, but that's something that, is definitely a risk that's emerged to the south there, unfortunately. So, yep, John just mentioned, the road to the warm ponds, there it is. That's what we just talked about. There it goes. So, yeah, big changes here at the delta. Let me switch to my animation, show you guys an kind of animation of how this area actually formed right through here. And there's the original channel going through. You can see there are a couple branches that go off in this direction. All right, and here we go. It's breaking out, moving north, and there we are at the last frame. So maybe I'll kind of go back and forth for you guys a little bit so you can see some of these changes. Let's look at this bend in the river right here. This is a interesting jump back and forth. All right, you guys can see how I got blocked. Hold on, technical issues right here. All right, there. Before and after. All right, you guys see that big new loop right there, right? Where the channel jumped over. Unfortunately, it went back into its main channel. But that's why we now have this lava falls right in here, where the river dumps from its new higher channel into its old lower channel. Right, so that's the feature that's probably the most picturesque right now, is this lava falls that's kind of going across the whole river as it drops over into that old channel. And likewise, you can kind of see, let me go back to the back and forth, how this edge of the flow, north edge of the flow over here, I'm trying to get some focus there, how that edge of the flow right there has developed, broken open. All right, you guys see that? So that's the big change to the north. And let's look to the south right here. All right, so that's definitely a big new breakout we have there to the south. That we'll have to check it out. So yeah, and then that's the south branch is going right towards that road to the warm ponds, as John is mentioning to us. So that's definitely a risk. We're gonna have to keep an eye on that. See if this really keeps flowing a lot of lava in that direction. It could become a threat fairly quickly, and going down that road and kind of ponding. Whoops, that's not what we want. Flowing down the road to the warm ponds, and then essentially filling that area over there near the warm ponds as well. So let's see. Just wanted to kind of show you guys another view. This is from Usgs feed. I'm not sure whose photo this is, but this is from Usgs feed. And you can see there's the bend in the river right there. Right, the old channel went this way. It's jumped across. The falls drops from here down into here. And then you can see the new I think in this photograph, I don't really see that big new flow to the south. It might be starting to emerge right from here, going that direction. But you can see this northern one is already established. And there it goes, kind of down towards the ocean, yeah. And in this particular photo, there's still a couple houses that are there on the edge. So, all right, let me go back to my, let me go out to my other browser here. And let's see what else we can show you guys. Here, there's another view. Another view, this one's a Usgs photograph from yesterday showing, this is that big channel that's the oldest, not the oldest, but you know, for a few days ago was the strongest point of lava going in the ocean. And here at this north edge, let's see how well I can show you guys. I'll point it out with a pointer so you guys can tell, but here's our new channel of lava. Sorry about the glare, let's see if I can get it any better. All right, here's a new channel of lava. It comes out this way. It's open to here, all the way there. It's feeding this big fan of a flow. It's burning on the edge all the way through here, and all the way up into the edge of this 55 flow. Actually, where's that 1960 flow is over here. And all the way into right around there. You can see where the gases are starting right there, where the lava is going in the ocean. So with a big channel actually pouring in over here. So yeah, that's there's the picture of the ocean entry. Here's a picture by the USGS of Fissure 8, also I believe yesterday. So you can see the actual fountain height is not that great. The top of it's right in there, right? Whereas we've seen it in the past go as high as over here. So for whatever reason, it's kind of stayed on the lower side of things recently, but it's still putting out a lot of lava, right? It doesn't seem like the volume has gone down that much. So that is certainly interesting. Let's go back one more, and then there's been new imagery released regarding the summit of the volcano. So this is a satellite map released by HVO showing the position of the observatory up here, and then you can kind of follow the road. It used to go over here, and then if you look down here, there's a piece of the road. Down over here is a piece of the road over there. Looks like it turns. And you can see a piece of the road right over here. All right, and it continues going over that way. And, you know, here's outermost crack. You know, here's like the cracks that are showing the most movement, right? So maybe, you know, according to what Don was talking about in one of the meetings last night, he was talking about the difference between a subsidence and collapse being where you actually have faults on the edges of the thing actually moving down. And, you know, the faults have the most movement, the most collapse is happening right in there. But you see there's cracks, which is what we're defining as faults, going all the way around the edge, all the way to there, all the way down, and all the way to the edge, and up and around, and kind of underneath the building of the Volcano Observatory. Underneath, you know, not underneath, but to the south of it over here. There's still a piece of land that appears to be stable, at least so far, in between here. And then the sagging is happening all the way out to the golf course, where all, you know, and past the visitor center, and past the Thurston lava tube way over there. So that's the newest photograph of the summit we have. And speaking of the summit, let's look at our earthquake maps. Let me do a refresh here and see if anything else pops up. But as usual, we have our cluster of earthquakes at the summit of the volcano. My connection might be a little slow, but it looks like here it comes. All right, so there we go. There's the cluster. So we got one random one over here, and there's one down by Loihi, but, you know, one here or there, you know, these are all background levels, right? So unless we have something like, you know, 20 in one day in one spot, you know, then, you know, nothing else is erupting despite the persistent rumors otherwise. You know, there's nothing happening with Mauna Loa, right? So here we are looking at Kīlauea. And let's fix our view here. So there is our earthquakes, mostly around Halemaumau once again. And a few over here to the side. There's one over by Leilani, actually, right in there. So let's check that one out. So that one I've got highlighted. Magnitude 2.5, 3 kilometers east of Leilani. Negative 0.2 kilometers, that's essentially on the surface, right? They count from sea level, so if it says negative, it means it's actually, you know, above sea level. So that's a small one. I'm sure it was felt. You know, for those who aren't aware, you know, so much lava is coming out of the ground in Leilani. There's like a constant hum or vibration that's there around the ground. You know, so you know these bigger earthquakes kind of just punctuate the other feeling everyone is getting. So there's our cluster of earthquakes. It's really hard to make anything out of that. But we can look at here. I've got them sorted by magnitude, and the largest one was a 3.9 in the last 24 hours, so we're actually pretty close to the next cycle of the next 5.3 probably coming within the next few hours. You can see we have a whole bunch in magnitude 3 range, all the way down, a whole bunch. In fact, yeah, look at that. Haven't counted them, but you can see it's several dozen magnitude 3 and higher that are happening every day. So those of you guys who, you know, try to imagine what it's like, you know, living in an earthquake zone, you know, that's what it's become for residents of Volcano Village. And, you know, likewise, if anyone is interested in, you know, always wanted to feel an earthquake, you know, now's the time to go get a bed and breakfast in Volcano, and you can feel an earthquake while it's still safe, you know. Of course, if John were here, he would tell us all, no one go towards the potential danger over there. You know, everyone just stay out of the way, and of course, that's a viewpoint we need to have as well. So, all right, let me go back to the USGS feed here, and let's look at our tilt. So let's see, here is our pattern, and you can see we're, you know, getting close to the next jump in the cycle. You guys notice, like, we're talking about these big earthquakes, but here's all these little ones in here. And some of these, like this one in particular, caused pretty good jolt. It actually dropped the ground a significant amount too. If we didn't have all these other 5.3s, you know, this might be a big deal. But yeah, that next one should be coming. Yeah, and yeah, Brad's reporting that the ground's been shaking for hours, so the earthquakes are picking up. They kind of pick up before the big event, right? You can kind of see in its previous event it was kind of not as many. There's a jolt, a couple little ones, and then you get bigger and bigger ones, and then you get the really big one, and then it kind of quiets off, and picks up again, and goes back up again. So there's a pattern we have. So there you have it. Let's look at what's happening at Pu'u'o. There's an interesting little bump signal right here, and you might be tempted to think, oh look, something's happening near Pu'u'o, but you'd have to know that there's been a huge amount of rain here in the last few days, and I have to check it out, but this is probably a signal of the rain actually weighing down on the ground and messing with the actual reading, right? So there's nothing happening at Pu'u'o that I know of. You know, in fact, the overall signal is still deflation, and also important as you look at the scale of this thing, it's on a scale of 1 microradian. So it's not a huge signal compared to, you know, what we're talking about for the summit. You know, in comparison, here's the summit plot, how much we're moving up and down, you know, from almost the top dotted line to the bottom one, and that's a range of from 60 to, that's 100 microradians, right? So it's 100 times bigger than what's happening at Pu'u'o. So this Pu'u'o signal is probably just a rain. This might have been an actual earthquake that was felt, more widespread. That one over here, right? So we've had earthquakes felt also, but this is probably just a rain signal. It's been raining a lot, right? In fact, there have been fascinating reports about the weather, how Fissure 8's been generating its own weather, and not just Fissure 8 itself, but where lava goes in the ocean. I was looking at the satellite images today. You can actually see quite a lot of activity generated by the ocean entry as well. So both of those plume sources are kind of creating weather, and there's been a lot of thunderstorms. Lightning, there was a bad lightning storm for those who aren't from the area. You know, when was it? Maybe 3 days ago now. So lots of rain. That lightning storm hit a lot of people with solar panels and destroyed their equipment. You know, I've heard, you know, TVs get blown out, monitors, all kinds of things like that. So that one was another different way that the volcano was damaging to people's lives there. You know, so it was interesting as people reported having lightning striking from the sky, the rain, and, you know, earthquakes all at the same time. You know, made them feel like there was really something drastic happening out there, and yeah, for sure, that's not common at all, right? So, all right, let's go back to our data. I do have limited time. I have some familial duties tonight, but you can see our downward dropping hasn't decreased at all. It's doing the same pattern, so the collapse is kind of continuing without much change as far as that goes, going straight down. It looks like we might have had a little less data here, but it looks like we definitely are shallowing out our horizontal movement. So that's definitely an interesting thing to watch. This is the first signal change that we've seen, and like we've been saying, one signal isn't enough to kind of establish a pattern yet. So we're kind of still looking for any change in the vertical, which we don't see. And of course, we're all curious to find out whether the collapse of the summit's going to precede the end of the eruption of the fissure down in Leilani, or if the fissure will actually stop first and then the summit will go. We don't really have it, don't really know how it's going to work. It kind of all depends on how the connection works between the summit feeder conduit and the one that actually feeds to the East Rift Zone as well. So we'll have to just keep an eye on that and kind of see. But if we see signals of the summit changing first, then we'll pay pretty close attention to that, of course. So, all right, guys, let's see. What else can we show you guys? Let's turn this camera back around. I showed you guys all this ocean entry stuff. And, well, according to here, I'll put this, not too exciting for you guys to look at, but according to the HVO report, they say that the flow, the end of the channel is 1.2 miles inland of the coast. The spatter cone fissure rate is still 180 feet tall. It hasn't changed. The lava really isn't shooting much higher above that. So, other than that, I think that's all the new info, really. The big news being, once again, those of you guys who are joining us later on, the big news being what's been happening down in the Kapoho region, right? What we had earlier, we had this channel coming down right through here, an apartment-sized blocked the river at some point, and it caused it to divert going north and making this new U-bend, right? There's still lava kind of leaking around that area, so there's still a little like lava tube that emerges right here and joins that channel. But right in between we have this lava falls that's dropping down from the upper part of the channel into the lower part of the channel, where it kind of has reoccupied after initially draining. Right, and once you get to here, now we have a whole new dynamic. The lava is seeping through here out to the sides, to the north, feeding a huge channel that's going all the way to the ocean and building this flow field to the north, this direction. Yeah, that's the big news today. And also we have this other breakout to the south, right? That's kind of gone along the edge of Kapoho Cone, or Green Mountain to those who are calling it that. And it goes all the way down along the edge of this 55 flow. And of big concern is how it's actually getting to the area where the road is, right? And if it can somehow find a road for a pathway, which may actually be what happens. We've had debates about how the lava really uses the roads, and more often than not, it does seem to make use of the roads, and kind of see how it started to finger off in that direction. The thing is nicely graded. If it can get one finger through there and establish a main channel, then basically it could start pouring down in this direction to the south. And I can show you guys the animations once again. It's kind of probably the most interesting thing so far, but you can kind of see, just kind of finish it off. The channel here is kind of crested over all the way down to the ocean, although they're still oozing a hole along the whole ocean entry front all through there, with this one biggest channel still active, right, making a pretty big steam plume right through here. But, so there's some lava still getting through this area down in here. So, but for whatever reason, there's more that caused a seepage to the north. Most of the lava is over here, fortunately. But there's still, an important amount down over here to the south. Right, so that's where that's the area of flow that's of most concern. And, if there are any houses left, they're probably in the area up through here. And you can see the edge of this channel is likely to kind of be a pretty big risk area right all through here. Right, so the flow is actually moving to the north over here at a pretty good rate. And, I was just talking to Uncle Kīlauea last night. There's some burials in here that are actually getting covered as well. So that's how it goes, unfortunately. So let's see. I saw some other questions. Let me see. All right, well, let me show you guys the animation one more time. So let's go back to the animation one more time for the guys who haven't seen it. Here's a map from Ikaika's feed, or sorry, a photo from Ikaika's feed showing our new bend over here. Right, the original channel had jumped this way, and it's going through a little lava tube. The falls are right in there. You can't really see them very well at this angle. Refilling the channel kind of to there, crested over that way over here. That new float to the south is just emerging. You can't really see it, but it's probably gone something like this down over here now. I see some red over there. I wonder if that might be part of it. I'm not quite sure. But the big channel on the north side over here, we're looking from north to south, establishing this big channel going all the way to the ocean. And in this particular frame, there's still some structures left. You can kind of see there and there. And going back, check out, show you guys animation once again. See how there are two big channels, then the southern one kind of becomes dominant, right? And it flips to the south. It actually done this kind of U-shape action for a while. Flip back to the north. Here we are, it's breaking to the north, and then breaking to the south, right? And let's kind of do the rewind back and forth of this one again. Right through there, right? Okay, this is the area where everything is really changing, is right through there, back and forth. Right, kind of three areas are changing right in there. One is this bend right in here, so you can keep an eye on that. The other one is right in here, whoops. And the other one is right in here. All right, so a couple of last times, and I'm gonna wrap it up. So there, you can see that's the big news is down there, right? And then, especially if concern as this flow down here could go somewhere lava hasn't yet covered, potentially, if it makes use of this road over here. So we'll all hope that doesn't happen. But it seems like there's a decent chance something will actually happen. So yeah, there's that one, and yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here pretty quick. There's one question that has come up, let's see, a couple times. Are they thinking about naming Fissure 8? I think there's a lot of debate about that, but the thing is, the proper people to name it are the Hawaiian people who are in charge of that particular protocol. So I'm not sure what will prompt them to do that. It may be that the story has to kind of continue and finish first before they name it. I'm not exactly sure. But I think there are other, USGS maybe following their own avenues of inquiring about that naming process as well. But basically, it's not going to be named anytime soon, is what I would say. So as far as what's happening at the elbow, I heard rumors of a spillover over there, but nothing that I could confirm. So looking at the thermal map that was issued, published today, it's still from yesterday, the data. I didn't see any evidence of any overflow over there. So as far as I know, there's nothing over there. So yeah, as far as I know, everything is basically stable. I see some more questions down here. I think that Fissure 8's still stable itself. Lava's still coming out of there very easily. So I'm not at the moment worried about it moving. It will probably move at some point before the eruption is over, but that's not actually happening yet. So all right, guys, I gotta get back to the kids. They've been very awesome helping me out here. So and yeah, some of it keeps collapsing. It's all kind of the same. We'll look at Fissure 8 in a little more detail, maybe in a couple of days. We know that there's been some ground movement around there, so there's some different ideas of what might maybe happen to make the fissure height actually go down. So, but for now, part of the bottom line is that those changes that happened probably happened about 2 weeks ago already. So whatever happened is kind of stabilized even since then, even since that change occurred. That's probably an important point to make. So we don't see any change at Fissure 8 or anything around there. Everything looks fairly stable, right? It's just that area that's kind of down from about Halekamalina crater, down area just, within a 3/4 of a mile uphill from the big bend in the river. That area that's upslope from there is showing a lot of overflows. And from there down, everything is going crazy with its rearranging its plumbing system. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining me. And yeah, we're glad that and keep you guys informed as much as possible, and we'll talk to you soon. So stay classy, Puna, and aloha.